It's a Friday call. I'm Mortgage Man Eric, and here we go. Today we're going to talk about the latest market trends in real estate and the cancellations that we are seeing in the new build market. The majority of them are. So let's hop into it. The latest trends, and this is more so Phoenix metropolitan area real estate trends. You know, we are seeing a softening of the market. What does that mean? Does that mean property values are going backwards? No, it does not mean that at all. Haven't seen it. If I do see it, I will certainly let you guys know. But what we are seeing is, example, seller lists their home for $600,000, and it's not worth $600,000. It's probably worth $550, $525. So you're seeing the property sit on the market for an escalated period of time, and you see price drops, price cuts, price drops, right? And the property actually finally gets listed for where it's valued at, $550. You know, we had a $50,000 price drop. And I mean, I understand that it looks encouraging, and it is. It is. Look, it is somewhat encouraging to buyers that they don't have to pay over market value of homes, right? Absolutely. But know that you're just paying the real property value where the comps are coming in at, which is a good thing. And so we're continuing to see that movement, which is interesting, you know, that sellers are still wanting to list their properties well over the value. And I get it, there's a trickle down effect. It takes some time for the reality of the market to impact sellers, right? There's always a lag, there's always a curve. I kind of get that. I'm hoping though that I'm like, look, if I was selling my home right now, I actually would probably list it at slightly underneath real comps. Why? Because then that would drive a bidding frenzy and probably would end up selling slightly over value. So there's some psyche that's involved with that approach. A lot of sellers don't want to take that advice from the realtors, real estate agents, the ones that are professionals, the ones that do this every day, right? We always get those people that know more than us, the licensed people that are in the trenches every day. Anyhow, that's the trend. So let's hop into construction, new build construction. What's happening there? So this is from about 3 weeks ago. I was reading an article that 49% of a builder, I'm not going to name the builder, 49% of this particular builder in Arizona had cancellations of contracts for the month of June. I don't know, haven't seen the statistics for July yet, and well, people are like, why is that happening? Let me tell you why that's happening. For those of us that were around in the last recession, housing implosion, 08, 09, 2010, we saw, if you were having a home built and you went under contract in like 06 and the property was closing a year or so later, that same property was selling for $50,000 to $100,000 less. So, and kind of the same concept is happening now. Follow me on this. And like, look, I have said this on a multitude of videos about new build homes, new build construction. It's like driving a car off the lot on day one. We've all heard those cliches. It's, you know, you're undervalued the moment you drive it off the lot. Absolutely. Same thing with the new build home. You are paying outlandish markups for anything and everything that you get at the design center. And look, everybody gets stuff at the design center. That's part of the fun of it all. That we get to go to the design center and pick out our cabinets and flooring and our countertops. Yeah, oh, we want granite countertop. I mean, and look, I get it. It's exciting, but you have to understand what's happening here. You upgraded painting. We're paying $15,000 for upgraded painting. when it really has a value of $3,000, right? The same thing with granite. You're paying for the updated, the upgraded granite that's $22,000 upgrade or $17,000 upgrade on paper, and it's really worth $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. Like if you were to do it on your own in an existing home, you'd pay a fraction of that cost. So what happens? I mean, then walk you through this. You have a base price. And then you start adding on this and this and that, and granite countertops and alder wood cabinets and, this flooring and travertine 18-inch flooring, upgraded paint, rounded corners, right? All of these things. Next thing you know, you have $88,000, $102,000 in add-ons at the design center. And that can be problematic. Why is that problematic? Because the property has to appraise. Look, man, and even in a regular market, normal market, if you go too crazy at the design center, your property may not appraise when the time comes, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 15 months later. When we get the appraisal, it may not appraise. So then what happens? There's a discrepancy. Well, everything added up, it costs $500,000 and the appraisal came in at $450, $475. Well, you got to come in with the difference plus your down payment and closing costs, right? So that difference is put on your shoulders. How many consumers just got an extra $25,000, $50,000 laying around that's not from California that sold their $2 million shed, and are coming here with cash? Nonetheless, you understand the concept. That's what's happening. So consumers, are kind of aware, and I'm glad to see this. That's why they're canceling their contracts with new build homes, is that they're aware of what can happen here. Well, the market's softening. This same home could be $25,000, $50,000, $75,000 less on top of interest rates that keep going up. On top of all this, right? So it's kind of like this perfect storm. You have these things coming together. Does the consumer want to have to deal with the appraisal discrepancy issue in the $11,000? Because look, the appraisal shouldn't get ordered until cabinets are in. If you've been in lending for a minute, you know that's when a lender wants to order the appraisal, which is when cabinets are in, which is usually when you're 4 weeks out from closing, 7 weeks, somewhere in that vicinity of wrapping the whole enchilada up. So it's near the end. Do you want that bad news near the end that, we've got a problem here. Houston, we've got a problem. So people are walking away from their $5,000, $10,000 earnest deposits with the new build homes. And look, man, I've never been a fan of buying a new build home. I've never been a fan of builders because they don't play nice in the sandbox with realtors. They don't play nice in the sandbox with the lending community. They are very difficult to play in the sandbox with. We'll leave it at that. Anyhow, so let's talk about the renting part of it. So because when we hear a lot of this, well, we're just going to rent, Eric. We're just going to rent. Makes more sense to rent. No, it doesn't. No, it does not. Overall, here's why I say that. You can go online, TikTok, any social media platform, and find a speaker that's gonna, I watched so and so, and that guy said, you should rent, you should never buy, and that's absurd, right? Now look, there are times in people's lives, if we think about this, chapters, right? You are going to look at life differently at the age of 20 versus the age of 30 versus the age of 40, and so on. That's called maturity. That's called growth. You should. If you are looking at life the same at 50 as you did at 20, exactly identical, one would question your growth and maturity in life. That's just naturally speaking. So, maybe there's a point in your life, 20s, early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, even early 30s, that maybe it makes sense to rent for you. But there comes a time when you start to think forward. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody can try to look around the corner, see what's coming. Not everybody can plan for retirement. Your employers are egging you on to put something to do a 401k because they believe that you're going to be around at some point, that you're going to need retirement beyond Social Security income, if that's even available. Anyhow, so keep that in mind. You're looking for the future. Do you want to continue to rent for the rest of your life, which is uncontrollable? Rents can continue to go up. Right? And then you could be kicked out because the renter could sell the home. You could have terrible neighbors. And, look, on and on and on. The American dream is to own a home. Now, why? Why? Because there's a point in life you don't want to have to pay rent or a mortgage payment or answer to other people about doing something to your home. You want to raise a family. Oh, well, I never want to have kids. I've heard that. And rightfully so. If you ask me at the age of 24, I'd be like, dude, kids are the furthest thing from my mind. Are you kidding me? Yeah, I've seen how these kids act, and I'm like, I don't want any kid. But look, I'm 50 now. I have 2 kids. Love my children. The best thing I've done in my life was have and raise children. So things change, chapters in life change, and I'm glad that I have a home to raise my kids in, that they can call it a home. I didn't have that growing up. My parents rented, and I'm not going down that rabbit hole, but nonetheless, I think you would appreciate to be able to give your kids a home, and so that when you go to retire, you don't have to worry about that rent or a mortgage, right? And then do the math. Well, if you're 30 years old, you get a 30-year fixed mortgage and you don't rapidly pay it off, accelerate it, you're 60, right? When do you want to retire? 60, 62, 51, 67. Start thinking about these things, not when you're 48, And I'm not saying you have to jump down that rabbit hole when you're 22, but you should have it in somewhere up here. Somewhere, look, I would like to retire someday in my life and not have a mortgage or a rent payment. So there is that part of it. It's okay to rent in certain chapters of your life, but at some point, I would hope that you would want to try to plan for the future rather than having to rent your whole life, and then maybe you get too old, you're going to be put into public housing. If you're unfamiliar with public housing, you can take tours of public housing in old age homes that are funded by the state. They're not ideal Cancun all-inclusive vacations, right? They're just not. Anyhow, been rambling on. With that said, it's Friday. Call the Mortgage Man, Eric, 602-757-2171. See you.